Let's bring in our guest for this hour to discuss this case. Joining us now, National Trial Attorney Michael Jaafar. Michael, thank you for joining us. So we were listening to Dr. Tops on the stand. He didn't perform the autopsy, but reviewed a lot of these photographs. What are you waiting to hear from this witness?
I'm looking to see, the nature of the harm, the nature of the murder, because at the end of the day, there were 3 reported disturbances by this woman in 2011, 2015, 2017. They were married for 10 years. They had 2 children who were at the home when this thing happened. And I'm looking to see, the passion with which these injuries were occurred. Something doesn't stick with me in this case, and I can't put my finger on it. Maybe it's the fact that there were 3 reported police reports, disturbances, yet he was never charged with any crimes. He was shot 9 times. There were 6 bullet wounds. I'm just looking to see I want it to hit home, because we know that her defense had filed a motion to under the Florida Stand Your Ground law, and it was denied. So obviously the judge who had looked at the evidence at that time thought that there were big issues that a jury needed to decide. So I'm kind of looking to see what basically the examiner's findings were in terms of the nature of these injuries, because there's something that doesn't stick with me yet, and this is why we have a trial. It's got to hit home.
You say it doesn't stick from evaluating the state's case. Is that what you're talking about? That there's something maybe there with this idea that she was an abused person?
Something doesn't stick in terms of establishing what we know the defense is going to do, right? The defense has already telegraphed their strategy. They have one strategy, right? This is not a whodunit. We all know that she pulled the trigger. Something doesn't stick for me with the defense's case. I'm already looking forward to the defense's case. We know what the prosecution's case is. She executed him. She was not in imminent fear for her life at the time of the execution, right? And so what doesn't stick with me is the fact that it bothers me that there were 3 reported incidents where the police showed up at the scene of the crime 3 times, yet Terry was never charged with any crimes. And then he shows up dead. They had 2 kids. They'd been married for 10 years, and she shot him so viciously, right? Maybe it was justified. So something doesn't stick with me with their defense. So I'm looking to see, I'm looking for this examiner's, this witness, to bring it home to me that this was heat of passion, was a battered wife syndrome type event or not. That's really what the crux of this case is. Was she acting as a battered wife who was in self-defense, or did she just wake up, had enough, and then execute him? Under Florida law, that's not enough, right? We've analyze these battered wife syndrome cases. You need more than just, I was upset with him, I was sick and tired of the disrespect, so I decided to end his life, because she killed him while her kids were home. So for me, I'm just looking for something, and so far I haven't yet gotten it. But the prosecution is doing what they need to do. Just, I know what the defense is going to want to do, and I'm looking at this witness and the witness that's coming after him to kind of give me the meat that I know that they need.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the case develops. All right, Michael, thank you so much. We're going to get in a quick break.
Let's bring in Michael Jaafar. That sidebar ended up turning into a break because of a lighting issue there in the courtroom. Obviously, it was very dark. They turned them off, the lights, intentionally for the photos, and then I guess there was an issue getting them back on. So that's why they took the break. Michael Jaafar, we were talking earlier about the fact that this witness isn't going to move the ball much in terms of how did it happen, because it's not contested. She shot him 9 times. But it is reaffirming that it wasn't just 1 shot, it wasn't 2 shots, it was 9, and she's, a member of law enforcement. Does it work in her favor or against her if she is totally raging and shooting 9 times, given the backstory?
Purely against her. Purely against her. This is one of the factors that harms her, because at the end of the day, if the jury are left with the opinion that the gunshot wounds from the back were the first injuries to this gentleman, right, to her husband, to Terry, the fact that she's a law enforcement officer and she shot him in the back, I don't think she has definitely she doesn't have a self-defense claim. was she acting under the battered wife syndrome? You know, in Florida, they have to show a pattern. They have to show witnesses. They have to show people. They have to show prior incidents. Now, they have prior incidents, as her defense do, but they didn't result in an arrest. And we've seen witnesses so far in this trial. You know, the law enforcement officers said there was no justification to arrest them for these incidences. Neighbors that felt the same thing. So far, she's not it's not the defense's case yet. It's still the prosecution's case, but the prosecution is putting on a compelling argument that she might have just been really angry with her husband and shot him. Now, I tend to believe that when a woman shoots her husband while her kids are at home, is not doing it because she's upset. She's doing it for a reason. She's justified, but the evidence has to come into play here. So far, the prosecution's putting on, straight out of central casting, a case that shows that she was not justified in this killing. I think when the defense takes this case, I think they're going to have a lot of fun with, their witnesses and their theories. But I don't like their cross-examination so far of the witnesses that have come about in this case. So far, it's kind of trending in the prosecution's favor, but the trial started on July 9th. It's still very, very early.
Yeah, it's early, so we'll have to see what more unfolds. All right, Michael.